Welcome to The Finisher, a podcast about professional wrestling and all things, well, wrestling. Here are your hosts, Jerry Pickering and Dan Nawrocki.
Welcome to The Finisher. What's going on, everyone? Dan, how are you today, sir?
Lost my thing. I have my mute button is actually on the cord of my headphones, and I went and lost it trying to open my mic. It wasn't that I forgot to open my mic before I talk. I lost this little bit here that is connected to me.
My question is, how did you lose it if it was connected to it?
These are questions that I don't have answers for. These are questions that I can't.
I lost my left hand. It was connected. Oh, there it is.
You've clearly never been high.
And now we know how Dan's going to be the rest of the day. Wonderful. Welcome to The Finisher. Hope everyone's having a wonderful weekend so far. I mean, it's just Saturday afternoon. We still got another whole day and a half, basically, to enjoy. Get out and do that. Don't stay stuck in the house all the time.
Do it responsibly, for God's sake, and wear a fucking mask.
I wasn't going to go there, but yes, wear a mask, definitely.
No, I am going to go there. And you know why I'm going to go there? Because it's a simple thing. Just this morning here in the Midwest, in the Great Lakes area, we lost college football for this year. The Mid-American Conference is not playing football in the fall, looking to play for the spring. There's a very good chance the Big Ten will follow suit later on today. There's a very good chance we're going to lose college football. And that's why I say wear the goddamn mask so we can have these nice things.
Shut your whorish mouth about not having any college football. I will find you. I will kill you.
You know, for some reason, I'm not.
I know where you live.
I know where you live too, bitch. I ain't that afraid of that crap.
I've moved.
Really? Because that's not what the chip says.
I forgot you did that.
That and I have you on TikTok, so I know literally everything.
Yeah.
I know everything the Chinese government knows about you.
TikTok's a great app if you haven't even used it. There's so much like positive stuff on it, like people giving out tips. You know, like they'll get money. People donate money. You know, their viewers, their followers, or whatever, will donate like 25, 50 cents, whatever. And they go out to eat, and then like they'll tip the waitress whatever they received in. So I've seen them tip like $1,000, and they'll just count it out to them. Like, that's a positive thing. That's nice. That's good to see. Good to see like soldiers coming home, family reunion, someone who hasn't seen in like 12 years. That's also pretty cool. There is stupid shit. There is dumbass shit, and there's lots of wrestling stuff. There's lots of mocking certain political figures. So that's always fun to watch too. People like to give it a bad rap, but
I'm not going to download it.
I enjoy it.
So, that's fine, you know.
But one thing that we're trying to figure out if people are enjoying, and we'll see if Dan is buying into it, is a new segment over on Raw, and you know they have rules for it, I guess.
First rule is you do not talk about Raw Underground.
Raw Underground. Now, as this is going on, because Dan wasn't able to watch Raw, so I was filming segments on my phone and sending it to him. And his question basically was, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's a nice way to put it.
I mean, you've got guys fighting in a ring that has no ropes. You've got women on a stage dancing, which kind of has set back the whole women's division thing. The whole
evolution.
Women's evolution. Back to kind of what it was, you know, back in the day when you had the Ho Train. I mean,
so let me get this straight. And I'm trying to understand, make sure we're working off the same level of comprehension here. So this is supposed to be an underground fight club.
Yes.
Where you're in the warehouse in the PC and you fight.
Now, if they don't have any of the cast from Fight Club join them at any point, then I'm going to be highly disappointed.
I mean, I'm sure Meatloaf isn't doing anything. But again, this is supposed to be a fight.
Yes.
And these are supposed to be shoots. Now, when you told me this was happening, what was the first thing I said back to you? Holy shit, Brawl for All 2?
Yep.
Which was one of the worst ideas they ever did. So then you sent me the videos. I'm like, oh, no, there's nothing. There's no fights. It's all work shit. Okay, it's a work shoot. Okay, your punches look like shit. Every single thing of a ground and pound, you were punching the mat. Everyone punched the mat. Everyone punched the mat. It's blatant. It's obvious. There's not. You can't work. Like, you can work a shoot fight, but you have to be willing to punch each other. And we at this point we know they're not actually punching each other.
Who was the big guy?
The first guy? I don't know. Like, he's apparently huge, and he's apparently been in developmental for like 4 years. He's been in NXT since 2016, and this is the first we're seeing of him on major TV. I don't know if he's worked at all at NXT, but if he's worked at NXT at all, how it's a guy that big that looks like that not been a major player or not had something going on.
Yeah, there's something going on there. There's something wrong with that.
So what is it? Is this the only thing he can do? Do we have another Great Khali kind of thing going? Where he's just big but doesn't have the other physical skills to do anything in the ring? Like, what is the deal? Why haven't you done anything? This guy has a look. He looks tremendous.
He looks huge.
So I saw that, and I saw that the first thing takedown and ground and pound, and I just laughed. As anybody who's watched actual MMA just laughed. Or should have.
I was. This came on, and I'm like, what? What in the hell is this?
So what I'm supposed to believe is that the stuff here in the dark warehouse is all real, and this is actually happening, and this is real fights. But the stuff that you keep coming back to in the warehouse with lights, that's wrestling. That's sports entertainment. That's not real.
No, not at all.
That happened. Like, we're supposed to suspend disbelief, but the stuff in the dark warehouse, that's real. Don't believe it all.
But yet you have people going from the light. That's what we call it. We'll call it the dark warehouse and the lighted warehouse. That's
the lit warehouse into the dark warehouse. So you have like guys that would you could legitimately see. Like, honestly, I would want to see members of the War Raiders, War Machine experience thing. Vikings.
The War Experience Raider Vikings.
No anymore. I could believe them if they were in shoot fights. They're not going to be in shoot fights. These people aren't trying to do. And for the MMA fans out there, it also seemed like Shane as a referee had a shorter hook than Dan Miragliotta, because punch. Oh, he's done.
Yeah. Shane looked awkward in it, in my mind.
Yeah, well, I mean, because he's trying to be the young hip guy, yet he's in his mid-50s.
He's going. A lot of people were relating this Raw Underground to Shane's midlife crisis.
Could be. And the thing about it is, like, Shane spent time working for the UFC, so I mean, I know he wasn't. He was on the marketing and on the actual corporate side. He wasn't in the actual MMA and the actual competition side. Sure. But he should have some better idea of this, and maybe that was why they decided to use him for this idea. The interesting thing is, at least from a viewership standpoint, it kind of worked.
They said that they had I was trying to find it.
It was a 6% increase.
Yeah, that's what I was like. But I'm like, okay, week. So is it Raw Underground that got the 6% increase, or was it the tweets saying, hey, Shane's got something special? Hey, there's a new faction debuting on Raw. Let's see what happens the next couple weeks that Raw Underground happens. Let's see if it just fades away and they're like, this is dumb shit. Why this is stupid. I'm not gonna watch.
Well, that's the thing. Let's see. Because the hour by hour numbers, everything peaked in the second hour when this thing started, when they teased. It peaked in the second hour, and then in the third hour when they have actually done some cut-ins to this thing, everything kind of trickled backwards a little bit. So whether or not this was enough to keep it, or it wasn't the active marketing and being able to say, hey, Shane McMahon's back, he's got a new idea. Hey, there's a new faction you're going to want to see. You want to make sure you're there.
And guess what? We saw really nothing of that new faction on Raw.
Yeah, and that was the thing. Like, this faction really didn't. I mean, it caused all the technical issues. Which,
you saw one clip of this faction out in the back lot throwing a Molotov cocktail or whatever at a generator, and that's it.
They messed the hell out of that generator, didn't they?
They did. Yeah.
Fire. Okay, they well, fire. But we didn't really get anything from that faction until last night on SmackDown.
Until last night when I sent the video to Dan. I'm like, the best part about this clip is watching Cole run for his life.
Well, okay, but let's be fair. That's not what you said.
All right, said, let's watch Cole run like a little bitch.
To which I responded is, how else is he going to run?
That's true. So they came in, and destroyed a bunch of crap. Nothing like, I mean, they're trying to do what the Nexus did.
Yeah.
And I don't think they were anywhere near close. I mean, yes, they got a chainsaw out and cut the ring ropes.
I found that hilarious because it was, you got this huge chainsaw and you say, yeah, I got a chainsaw, cut a rope. Yeah, chainsaw, cut the rope. Yeah, chainsaw, cut the third rope, kind of.
So, but this group, I mean, that's not, they're going to need the chainsaw. They're going to need every little weapon they have because this is like Chad Gable size. The freaking Oompa Loompas came out is what happened.
There are a lot of, and I hate to, keep bringing in outside politics, but there are a lot comparing the look to this group to the look of what people think Antifa is to look like, when then maybe the fact that you grab the smallest and you make them look like Antifa, so you can draw that comparison, like the little soy boys in Antifa are the weak ones, yada yada. Which would be the wrong thing to do. There really needs to add some muscle to this group because there is, and I know this is going to sound weird coming from me, potential here. Holy crap, could you do some stuff?
It could, but will they? That's the question. That's the $1 million question.
No, because, well, don't forget the last time I was as excited about a potential angle was the NXT invasion around Survivor Series last year, and you saw where that went after the Survivor Series pay-per-view.
Yep.
So
that was great.
What I expect this to happen is to do like a 3 or 4 weeks of all of this, the destruction and beating people up and taking the show over and running things off, and then people will start getting revealed, and then there'll just be another group. It'll just be another, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It'll just be another faction.
My thought is it was gonna be the Undisputed Era,
which would have made sense, and it could still be. It could still be. It could still be. But since we're in the middle of jumping around topic to topic anyway on the sheet, my guess would be, and I'm wrong here, but for effectiveness, it would only be 3 members of the Undisputed Era because one is essentially dead.
Oh, Adam Cole?
Adam Cole, your career, tombstone it, done. No one cares. Who cares? Who's going to care? Why should I care?
Because he's feuding with Pat McAfee.
He got knocked out by Pat McAfee on Wednesday.
Was it truly knocked out?
No, he didn't. He got punted, the only weapon a punter has to effectively do, and he got knocked out. He face planted, was left unconscious. An NFL punter who has 0 training in the ring has knocked out the longest reigning champion of your NXT brand, the man who is and had been the savior, led the biggest group on that brand. Lights out. Done. Character's
kicked
done.
Him in the head. Because now there's a match at TakeOver 30.
And if Pat McAfee looks great, then the actual logic is if Adam Cole is going to get his ass whipped up and down by an NFL punter with less than 3 weeks of training in professional wrestling, how am I supposed to believe that he can beat anybody? Keith Lee should have whipped him in 5 seconds.
Exactly.
Dominic Dijakovic. One kick, this guy's dome should be done. You have killed your most interesting character that you could have possibly brought up and made something. You have killed, I might be overstepping, but I don't think so. You have potentially killed the next Triple H on your major brands.
Yeah, I can see that.
And before anybody even thinks to step to this, to go with the historical route, well, what about Bam Bam and LT? Bam Bam main evented WrestleMania with someone who'd never been in the ring before. And here's the difference. The first time they met, it was a pushing and shoving match.
Yeah.
And LT never went out on Raw and cold cocked Bam Bam. Bam Bam never looked weak. Even in that match, Bam Bam never looked weak. He beat the piss out of LT in the middle of their match.
And here, Adam's looking.
And Adam Cole was knocked out in their first physical encounter on a WWE show. It's done. It's done. I hate this. He made his best bet is this is what you get for signing a multi-year extension, if that's true that he had. And this contract isn't coming up here later on this year. We're gonna bury you to a fucking punter.
When all that first started, and he was on his talk show or his radio show or whatever it was, and I'm like, this has got to be a work.
Well, you said it to me. It's like, what do you think it is? I'm like, it's a work.
Yeah.
I said to you, if it was any other sports talk show, maybe I'd believe that there was actual friction between the two people. If he had gone on to say Rich Eisen's show and yelled at him, cursed at Rich Eisen, and walked off the set, then you're like, wow, maybe there's some actual heat. But Pat McAfee's been working for the company for how many years now? Pat McAfee has done how many pay-per-view pre-shows? Which WrestleMania was it? They showed up in the shorts that looked like his balls were hanging out on one side because they were so fucking short. That is not a picture I will ever be able to forget. So the second, because it's Pat McAfee, I was like, oh no, it's a work immediately. Well, but Triple H said, yeah, but Triple H is also in the business. He's in the company. Of course, he's going to hype this up. He's probably trying to get Pat McAfee in the ring or something. What do you know?
Yeah. Let's see here. Speaking of some guys who were, I guess I'm not really.
Sorry, thank you. I probably should have ended that appropriately after I had landed the death knell for Adam Cole's career. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Here, thank you. The Revival. Not really the Revival anymore, but FTR, which is still kind of the Revival. Fuck the Revival. Yeah. I guess they had some stipulations that were added to their release when they left WWE.
I thought that was interesting and kind of in the back of your head when they finally were officially let out of their contract because they didn't expire, they were released. You kind of wondered what they had to do to get out of it, right?
Yeah.
There wasn't they didn't have an extremely long non-compete. About the normal non-compete that everyone would have gotten, they were getting out of their contract. But it turned out this week that they had some unique things they had to do, actually some unique things they had to give up in order to leave the company.
What were they doing?
I assume that's what you were looking at the other screen because you were opening the story. I
opened it, but it won't open for me.
I didn't even try. They had to give up 3 trademarks, and the one I remember specific. There it is. No flips, just fists.
Yeah.
And they had to give the trademark to #FTRKO. And the guy said that even though it cost them $10,000 to register those trademarks, they willingly gave those up so they could get out, which should tell you A, their commitment to where they saw themselves going forward in their career, and B, just how miserable they were in the company at that point and how they were being used. If they're willing to lose $10,000 to be allowed to do it, to be freed essentially.
So they can't use those at all.
So right. So there will not be an FTR T-shirt that says "No flips, just fists." There may be something along that line. If they're smart, very soon we will get a T-shirt with a giant fist that says FTR Underground. The only benefit, just to circle back because of this thought, the only benefit to this Raw Underground thing will be all of the memes and merchandise and videos that come out afterwards mocking it. I'm pretty sure the Good Brothers in their next edition of Talkin', I cannot remember what Gallows and Anderson's pay-per-view they ran a couple
Talkin' Mania or something?
Talkin' Mania. The next edition, has got to have some kind of parody on that. There's going to be some kind of underground thing going on there.
And they just dig a giant hole to do it in. Be funny. Be
That
underground.
might be it. They just dig a hole in the backyard. Yeah, go fight. Go ahead.
We're gonna fight in the underground.
Literally, like about 3 feet.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Speaking of the contracts and releasing, a star actually just signed a multi-year deal, which
Yeah.
I wouldn't have seen coming.
Well, no, and especially because of how we had thought about this guy when he first came back to the company earlier this year.
Why are you here?
Well, I didn't necessarily think, why are you here? But he came in as a producer, not necessarily a.
He
talent,
returned in January as a guest spot for the Royal Rumble. We're talking about Montel Vontavious Porter, MVP.
Right,
signed
about the Rumble.
Signed a 5-year deal.
It was 5 years. I did not see. I knew it was multi-year, but I didn't see. And the thing about it is now he's basically an on-air talent, a part-time wrestler, and then the leader of the Hurt Business.
Yes, the Hurt Business.
Doesn't really flow, but it's better than
him,
Nation of Domination 2.0.
Him, Bobby Lashley, and Shelton Benjamin. And they kind of ended Raw standing in the ring of the Underground.
Now there's some potential there, and running a storyline through that.
They are now in charge of Under the Underground.
And Shane's like, "Hey, it's cool. Come back whenever you want. You can do what you want." And they're like, "Nah, this is ours." So if we're lucky, that means that maybe if this continues, that means Shane's participation will be short-lived. And MVP and Shelton and Bobby Lashley can go ahead. And Bobby Lashley's a guy who has legitimate MMA experience, by the way.
Yes. And the best part of the whole, like, this past Raw was Kevin Owens coming out doing his Kevin Owens talk show, the KO talk show, whatever. And he says, "I gotta talk about something. Shane McMahon's back. I got views on that, because he had that view that a feud with Shane, and that's the reason I think pretty much Shane is gone, because of their feud. That
was the resolution, that he lost and Shane had to go away.
Yeah,
or he won and Shane had to go away.
So he didn't get to say anything else. But he did end up getting a match this coming on Raw with Randy Orton.
Which is, I mean, this has looking forward. Could be a good match. Could be a very good match. He's going to lose, because you can't, they're not going to have Randy going into SummerSlam where he's probably going to win the title and coming off a loss to Kevin Owens. Or maybe they will, and that then sets up that his first challenger off the bat, and that gives Kevin Owens something to do immediately, which I also would be fine with. There's no reason that he should not be in that title picture. But the possibility, as I understand it also, is that match will take place on a live edition of Raw, which is something the company is trying to get back to now.
Correct. Yeah, I'm excited to see that, and we'll see. They may let him win it, but now Randy Orton has his manager, which is Ric Flair. Who knows what Flair will do. We got rid of one Flair and brought another one back.
I'd be willing to bet that it has something to do with a fist in Kevin Owens' balls.
That could work. Good low blow.
Give me all up and under, Rick.
And like I said, we had a Flair leave and a Flair return, another return.
Yeah, but is anybody really upset to see Rick anymore?
No, he looked awful.
That's the only, man. Let's hope they're keeping him safe in all of this.
Yeah, another return, another McMahon returning again on SmackDown.
Yeah.
In the form of Stephanie.
Yep.
A triple brand battle royal next week on SmackDown to determine Bayley's opponent for SummerSlam. Does that mean you're going to get Raw stars, SmackDown stars, NXT stars all fighting to find out? Yeah.
And basically publicly admitting they don't have enough confidence in any one of their other singles on SmackDown to push them into a title picture, and they don't want to go back to, for whatever reason.
Alexa Bliss is busy with The Fiend.
Right. And there's your your established single, and you don't feel strong enough about anybody else on the SmackDown side. that you got to, at the very least, tease. Like, sure, Lacey Evans may win this battle royal. Probably
She
not.
may.
But then why not just put her in a program to get to Bayley as opposed to go through all of this stuff? Because you haven't bothered to build anybody else on that brand.
Yep, and I gotta be careful when I say her name.
Bayley?
Alexa Bliss. I can't say it too loud because my Alexa starts going off.
Oh, right.
I'm like, what the heck is that? And I had to listen. I'm like, oh, shut up. But yeah, so you're already gonna a battle royal next week on SmackDown for that. So we'll see.
I mean, I'm always up for a good battle royal and see what happens.
Uh-oh.
What'd you break?
Nothing. Something popped up. Trying to get rid of it. Okay, we're good. So I'm trying to I'm reading some more on this whole Raw Underground thing, and it's just I don't know if I can get behind it.
Again, like I can't. I don't tell me things that I know aren't real, and don't tell me they're real. It's like for a company that made a point out of wanting to change the industry so they're no longer insulting their fans' intelligence, is doing a really good job of insulting the fans' intelligence.
Probably.
You're in a position where...
Sorry, something started playing my pad. Go ahead.
You're in a position where you're subservient right now in popularity to mixed martial arts. So instead of trying to do what they're doing, but on the lesser, why don't you give everyone a reason to come back to what you're doing? Why don't you make what you're doing better? Just an idea. God only knows if it'll work. Because that's all that looks like. That looks like like again, it looks like a crappy version of the UFC.
It looked awful.
I mean, like I said, could you do something like that? I probably. But as someone's gimmick, as someone's like stipulation match, as someone's specialty, not as an entire segment that you keep cutting, that you keep interrupting the flow of your show to go back and forth to.
Yeah.
With no rhyme or reason, with a host that doesn't have a place. So if the Hurt Business is taking over and MVP is becoming the host of this, at least that bit of it now works because you have a host that's already established in your universe and it makes sense.
Correct.
Because then the next week could just be, all right, who wants a crack at Bobby Lashley? And Lashley can just mow people down left and right. And that could be every single segment. Who's next? And then you get to that big guy. And depending on what you want to do with Lashley, you just end with the showdown.
And Bobby Lashley versus the big guy, yeah.
Or he just mauls the big guy. Now you've killed 4 years worth of work on developmental there, and you got to rebuild him, but whatever. Then you build Lashley back up, who's been nothing since he lost to McIntyre back at Money in the Bank. Was it Money in the Bank? Extreme Rules?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Someone, and I'm surprised that they actually liked it, was CM Punk.
Part of me wants to mock him because what would he actually know about mixed martial arts besides losing?
Being 0-2. He actually told on the Bump or whatever the show is, Renee Young, that he would like to see her go into the underground with Bayley.
Yeah, part of me also thinks that he's just saying things to amuse himself because you could also hear Punk say these things about how much he likes it and he wants to see more bodies getting torn up in there. And you can hear it in Punk's voice and going, if you heard those comments, you might have had a better context. Like, he has a way of speaking where you could believe that was all said in sarcasm, or at least enough of veiled sarcasm. So, while you're on the company's television show, you're praising their new ideas, but you're still sliding a little bit of the knife in behind it going, this is an idiotic thing. Guys, I know what this looks like, and it didn't look like that.
Exactly.
Like, the punches I saw come at my face looked nothing like the punches that were raining down on that one. when Nicky Gall knocked my ass out. Sorry. I'm not trying to mock Punk. It's just easy. Like, I really don't hate Punk at all for what he did. You got to actually, more so, you got to applaud a guy that's willing to go from there to there and put his body and his face on the line to do that.
Exactly. Like we talked about, we're waiting to see, people over at AEW mock it. We're waiting for Elite to come out with a video.
Yeah, it's gonna be
to
on
mock
this,
it.
Like, it's got to be like the new episode, whatever the new episode of Being the Elite drops. There's got to be a thing there. They've got to.
They just, I can't even talk. AEW, we're getting to that season soon for political debates. We just had a debate, America versus Canada, in Chris Jericho and Orange Cassidy.
We did, moderated by
the one and only, for making his debut on AEW, the first time back on TNT in 15 years, Eric Bischoff.
Eazy-E back on TNT, and thankfully,
he's back.
At least the TNT Twitter account acknowledged it and played along a little bit, so they had a little back and forth, which was kind of fun. Even it was an interesting little thing, but my thing, it went on like way too long, but that's just me.
Watching Cassidy do a promo, and it's weird to see because he doesn't talk.
Right.
So like the last thing I'm saying is like, you'll be a laughingstock when you're beat by the guy who's known for putting his hands in his pockets. All right. I love it.
And they'll go at it again this Wednesday night. I believe it's in a $5,000 or $7. Excuse me. There's a random thing. It's a $7,000 something match. Like, there's $7,000 on the line somewhere, and I don't like. It's just I'm just confused by the number. Why $7,000? It's just a really weird amount of money. If you're gonna do something, it's 5s and 10s because that's the easiest that the brain picks up to promote. Why $7,000? I'm not against using this as a vehicle to continue the ride. And hopefully the blow off comes at All Out. And as we were talking, hopefully this being that it comes to All Out and Orange Cassidy finally gets one over on the veteran. But just a random number. That's all. I can't get past the random number. I can't wait to see it again because their first encounter was a pretty good match.
And if you saw on AEW or any of the clips, Sammy Guevara, Matt Hardy. In the article I read, Sammy Guevara threw the wrong chair at Matt Hardy. Hardy had like 13 stitches.
Yeah, if you look at it, it's like a ballroom chair instead of a folding chair. And it almost looked like it was one of those things, like if you saw it, it looked fine. But when they slowed it back down, it's almost like in mid-throw, Sammy realized what he had, and it was like one of those, oh no, I can't stop now, and turned like it's too far gone, and I don't know if Matt sees it in time. But Matt, if you watch the slow motion, did get his hands up. So I don't know if we're being screwed with.
Could be.
As to what's real and what's not, because the articles I've read say that that was a hard waist cut. Matt was legitimately upset, and so was his wife, and that's why they let it all out on social media, on the Twitters and the Instagrams, and that Sammy got a very stern talking to backstage.
He's getting a lot of that lately, isn't he?
I'm sure he had one initially, but I don't know that he apparently has backstage heat, and is now people are like looking at him as he's looking at him as he is reckless. And I honestly I can see going both ways. I can see how they're working this so that now we have Sammy and Matt, which may be heading to All Out. So if this is a match that they make it All Out, they're either making the best of an angle out of an accident, or this was an accident the whole time, and that's how it was going to go on. But allegedly, he wasn't supposed to. It wasn't supposed to be this huge bloody thing, but they had no problem exploiting.
I lost an article, but I was trying to find it. Some bigwig or supporter or sponsor of AEW kind of backed out. I don't know if you saw that.
No, he got dislocated.
You got dislocated. Okay.
Time Warner went through a or Warner Media or whatever the actual structure was, whatever the actual company that TNT directly is under.
Gotcha.
One of their big supporters was taken out of an executive role and let go by the company, and so there's some question how much support they're going to have with TNT now that one of their big supporters is no longer in the executive suite. But if they continue to deliver ratings, then I'm sure that the network and the company will continue to be behind them. Now,
Yeah.
will this mean that the Dynamite will go 3 hours? Maybe that'll be a harder sell, which is probably for the best.
Exactly.
No, I think they're 2 hours is perfect. Where the 2 hours and dark are where they need to be.
I agree wholeheartedly. There's no need for 3 hours of Raw.
No,
I mean, they can cut that back. There's a lot of filler bull crap. Let's see. Why don't we get into our top 5?
Okay, he said with the abrupt segue.
Yeah.
So,
I'm all about the abrupt segues.
Well, like I said before, we were talking about beforehand, is one of those when I put all these things together, there's actually, we've kind of been complaining for the last couple of weeks that really not a whole lot's been happening, and we're kind of going back and forth over old ground. There was tons of stuff to go on this week. There's things that we don't even have a time to touch on. Brandy Rhodes got pushed off of Twitter this week. Apparently, Marty Jannetty killed a guy, and now is under investigation for murder. So we'll have to,
We'll monitor that story
point.
And come back as it warrants.
Yes, we will absolutely give you the latest breaking updates as it comes through. So we go back to this part of the show, the normal standby, the top 5.
All right, let's get to it. Here we go. Let's see our top 5. Top 5. What was it? Top 5 stipulation matches. But we said no cage, no Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, because again, we've done that. Like, listen, last week we did cage matches, and a couple weeks ago we did Hell in a Cell matches. So that's been done. Let's take those out of the thing and go from there. So let's start. I'm going to turn it on you because usually you like to start this. So let's turn it on you. And what is your 5th best stipulation match?
My 5th best stipulation is not that of an old one. I mean, it's been around. I think it was Jericho who came up with it, which is the Money in the Bank.
Okay, a specific ladder match.
Yes, which was the Money in the Bank because the stipulation of you get this briefcase. When it first started, you got this briefcase. You picked wherever you wanted to go. You want to go to SmackDown? Did you want to go to Raw? Did you want to, that's and it was always a big thing. Who are they gonna pick? Who are they gonna pick? And now it's kind of this year's Otis winning.
Has barely been on TV.
Barely been on TV. There's been no mention of it. Is he actually going to cash it in? Is it going to be put up in a stipulation? Those, winner gets the briefcase. What's going to happen with it? Is it just going to be to the wayside?
He's teased Braun a couple times when he's been in the building at the same time, but nothing is like I said, they've buried he and Mandy Rose being on TV, just being there is being treated as an event, and can't tell you the last time he had a match.
Exactly, but they did say he can use that not for the world title, but he can use it for the SmackDown those tag team titles.
Yeah, and hopefully they do not do that, and if
they don't
they way to devalue that. And we're not talking about the women's case because that's a whole other instance this year specifically. Yeah, different thing, extenuating, an extraordinary set of circumstances.
It's been wild. So Dan, what's your number 5? Oops, I guess I should have it.
Wow, I know this is kind of a weak way to start this, especially when you're coming off with Money in the Bank, but I like the 3-way dance at number 5. Not necessarily the triple threat match, but the 3-man elimination match. I think that when that's done well, there is so much potential with that elimination aspect involved. Plus, in a way, you kind of get 2 different matches out of one.
Yeah.
If you could mix styles and fuse to come up with a potentially great event. And ECW kind of paved the groundwork for that, where everything that they did was with a 3-way match was an elimination style. And when in the WWE, the triple threat, it's usually just one fall. But a great example of this match, which you'll be able to see when this thing becomes a pod or a blog post over at thefinisherpodcast.com, would be Jerry Lynn, and Super Crazy from November to Remember 1998.
All right. That's your number 5?
That's number 5.
All right, number 4. Guess I'll go. My number 4, it's probably, I don't know if it's really, I always enjoyed them. I always played it on the games whenever I got the game. First Blood.
Mm-hmm.
Which they don't do that anymore.
Well, they're not supposed to do blood anymore.
Yeah, they can't do blood anymore, which I say is just crap. But
yeah, well, it's
you always knew in a First Blood match it was gonna be vicious. You know, there was gonna be carnage, and in my mind they were always usually good matches with the First Blood matches. So that's why I made it my number 4.
They're definitely there are ways to completely kill that stipulation off, but for example, some places have run a First Blood Battle Royal. So you have a Battle Royal and you're only eliminated when you bleed.
Ooh.
That's a bit tapped on that one.
Wait, what's your number 4?
I rage about this type of match in my indie matches countdown, but it's so unique I had to include it here. So my number 4 is a Torneo Cibernetico.
God bless you.
Man, you hear Spanish and you immediately shut off, huh?
I didn't know what it is. I can't even speak it. I don't know what it says.
It's basically like this. Like if you haven't seen one, it's basically one giant tag match between two teams where you have like a batting order, so to speak. So
okay,
you can tag you tag your partner. You go out of the ring, go to the end of the line. The next guy up pops up, and you just kind of keep going. And as each person is eliminated out as you go through. So the opportunity for like so many of these like mini matches inside this one overarching thing is incredible. And the damn thing could be a show of its own. I mean, that Chikara match that I talked about from 2004, which ended up being the longest match in company history, was something like an hour and 15 minutes long. And the first elimination didn't come until the 41st minute.
Ooh.
So there's a lot that can be done again in just the overarching umbrella of this one match that you have so many things and so many stories you can tell.
Okay, it's actually kind of cool to watch.
Well, you'll be able to see one once again when this hits the blog post at thefinisherpodcast.com.
I was tossing it up there for you. My number 3. And I know it's one of your favorites as well. And they're not doing it as much of a justice in NXT as they've done over in WCW, but War Games.
They are not, but I agree with you there.
Just a double ring. It's such a great, odd stipulation, odd match to watch. But I was always a fan of watching. I never watched it live. Wasn't really watching much of WCW when I was younger, but like watching them, not now, but previously online and whatnot, and actually getting to watch them more and more now on the network, which is now they have all those videos there. But yeah, my number 3 is War Games.
I'm sure at some point we'll watch an event as part of our flashback feature.
That'll probably have one.
A War Games match has got to be in there somewhere in the list. And if not, I'll have to put one in there just so we can watch a good one.
There you go.
But yeah, no, just visually, just like you said, like just seeing the 2 rings and the big cage with the roof, and
yep,
it's a visually impactful match.
That's right. What's your number 3?
Number 3. This sounds ironic when I will say this, but my number 3 is an empty arena match, and you'll have to humor me and go back to the time when empty arenas weren't the norm.
Didn't Mick Foley have one?
To be continued. But there is a freedom in working around this large arena, this big space, without any restrictions. So no fans means, in theory, that there's no place where you can't go with the action. So the stands, the concourses, the mezzanines, it just opens up a ton of possibilities for what, I mean, it's a giant hardcore match. There's just more room to do it. And there are two matches that stand out in this category. I'm sure others have been done, but if someone says empty arena match, there's two things you think of. You either think of Jerry Lawler and Terry Funk from 1980 or the Rockin' Mankind and Halftime Heat in 1999. So, yes, there's your Mick Foley match where he got kicked down the stairs of the arena in Phoenix and is just rolling down the stairs and that his side of his head is bouncing off of the chairs along the thing. And you're going, there's no way, Mick,
How'd you not
how
die?
did you survive this stuff? Because it was just a little off thing. You're just watching his head dink, dink, dink as he's rolling down the stairs in the arena.
We ask we ask him a lot. You know, there's a lot of times we've asked Mick Foley, how did that not kill you? How did that not kill you? You got your ear cut off by a ring rope. How the heck did that not kill you? You jumped out. You got thrown off the cage. How did the heck not kill you? You climbed back up the cage. You were being escorted, pulled on a stretcher, and fell through the cage with the chair hitting in the face. How did that not kill you? There's a lot of questions of how did that not kill you to Mick Foley, and I'm pretty sure he's been asked that, personally a lot.
You had C4 literally explode up underneath you. How did that not kill you?
Exactly. That's your number 3. All right, my number 2. And we go back to basically my number 5, but it's a ladder match. When you look at matches like Razor Ramon and Shawn Michaels, one of my all-time favorite ladder matches. Back then, when you watch TLC or they have a ladder match, they put out on the stage, on the ramp, ladders upon ladders.
Oh, yeah.
Upon ladders.
There's ladders under the ring.
Pulling ladders off from under the ring. There's ladders around the ring. The Shawn Michaels Razor Ramon match, they had one ladder. And it wasn't even WWE's ladder. It belonged to the arena. They didn't have a ladder. So they had to find one in the arena.
Which begs the whole question.
If that broke,
you're fucked. What do you do?
They are screwed.
What do you do?
Like a lot of you see them now, they break. They put someone through them. But they couldn't do that then. That was the only ladder they had, and they still had one hell of a ladder match.
Agreed.
And that's my number 2.
My number 2. I feel like the top 5 segment, especially the last couple months, is starting to fall into the pattern of us fawning over anything involving The Undertaker. But in this case, it is definitely well-deserved, as my number 2 is the casket match. Because I know at first, this kind of seems like a finicky stipulation, having to stuff you just do it in the casket and close the lid. And but when done right, it is a hell of a spectacle. Plus, it is synonymous with The Undertaker's character.
Exactly.
That it's how he's always vanquished the big monsters he's run into in his career. And they are some of the most memorable matches, not just in his career, but in the history of the Fed.
Casket match,
casket match.
I thought about adding it to mine, but I did not.
So is it out of line to say that you may not have any honorable mentions?
I would, if I have on the casket match, would probably be my honorable mention, because I debated on putting that in my list at my number 1 spot. But I didn't. I put something else. So we'll go ahead and throw the casket match as an honorable mention. So do you have any?
I do, but I can actually speed through them really quick because my honorable mentions were War Games, because I know we promised no cage matches here, but I had to give some love to my favorite type of cage match.
Was it a cage match? I should have not put it then.
No, that's fine, because yes and no, because it is, but it isn't, but it is, but it isn't. I also had the ladder match, and the only reason it didn't make my list that I have seen so many attempts at this match go bad, the pool has been diluted for me big time. And then the one match we did not have that was the same as the good old-fashioned strap match. Even if the endings to this are usually formulaic, I still enjoy me a good old-fashioned leather strap match.
Now, they've had the leather strap match. They've also had the match where they're hooked together, and where they have to touch all 4 corners.
Yeah, that's kind of, well, it's
they've
weird.
They've got the strap, and they can still use the strap.
Right, because that's the problem, and that's where it branches off, because you say I've seen strap matches you win by pinfall, because where it's like a dog collar match where you're tied together, but that's the stipulation, you're tied together, or bull rope matches, which I think was originally where you're supposed to hit all 4, but like all combinations I have seen be either pinfall, submission, or touch all 4. There's a lot of wide there's a variations of that match, but there you go.
I mean, you
Leading
could.
into
There's other ones. You got I quit matches,
oh yeah,
and you've got we said the ladder match, career on the line, where someone has to put their career on the line. That's happened quite a bit. So, all right, do you want to do your number one first? You want me to?
yours, since we've been going back and forth
All
the
right.
whole time.
My number one is my favorite pay-per-view of the year. Is the Royal Rumble. Because you never know, who's going to show up. You don't know how many people are going to be at the ring at the same time. You don't know, especially with the more recent years with characters like Kofi Kingston, finding a way to get out of the ring, but never land on his feet and get back into the ring. There's always a surprise or something around the corner with a match like that. And it's not just the actual Royal Rumble. They've had the Rumbles, throughout years before, but that's one of my favorite matches is a Rumble. There you go. That's my number one.
So interestingly enough, I'm going to agree with you to a certain extent because my number one, and actually kind of two melded into one entry, so is the Gauntlet match and or tag team turmoil.
Okay.
And I know after everything that preceded this, I know this seems kind of anticlimactic, but this is a concept that I really like. If you're familiar with the idea of a gauntlet match, which is separate, it is the same. It's the battle royal taken to another level, almost
Yeah.
Royal Rumble style. Wrestlers entering a certain interval, getting tossed over the top rope, eliminated, blah, blah, blah. But then you get down, and the final two participants then have a regular match to determine a winner, which at times can be a far less awkward way to determine a winner on the type of this match. And then the tag team gauntlet or tag team turmoil, as it's known in WWE, is really like a video game mode. Two tag teams start, one loses, next one enters, and you just keep going until there's one team left. And as I've said a few different times in this list, there is so much potential for multiple stories to be told in the umbrella of one match and multiple styles to be highlighted in one match. So even if I kind of cheated and put two matches in one here, to me, they're close enough to hold the same slot as my favorite stipulation match.
Gotcha. I like it. So we're almost in the same area there a little bit.
Yeah, so we're working our way through the same general area.
And you want to find out anything about these or want to read about what our picks again, make sure you head over. The links right below our videos here. Facebook, thefinisherpodcast.com. That'll have all of our socials. That'll have, our YouTube, our Facebook, our Twitch. Facebook is facebook.com/thefinisherpodcast. It'll also have all the blog posts. It'll have, the current title run. Bank over here, just so you know.
Technicality by a magnanimous commissioner.
A win is still a win. Shut up.
Should have been a loss, but I was nice.
But it wasn't. It wasn't. So
no, because I allowed it to be a win. Otherwise, I could have just taken it back, and you didn't have a leg to stand on it.
Oh, I had a leg to stand on. I have two of them. So you know. Technically, I have three.
And not when I'm done with it, you won't.
So make sure you go check out our website, thefinisherpodcast.com. Like I said, all of our socials there. All the podcast locations are there. Just you can go where our podcasts are. If you click the link, it should take you right to where the podcast is, and you can follow us, subscribe, and whatnot. So actually, I forgot. We got to pick a new top 5 for this week.
So what are we going to do next week? Ooh, good. It seems like we've, over the past, year and a half, we've gotten a lot of the worsts out.
Got another best?
And we got another best. And actually, not only do we have another best, we have another favorite. So next week, this is actually going to take some work from you, as you just admitted you did not watch this company much when you were a child. So you'll have to do a little research, dig back on the network, and come up with your top 5 favorite WCW matches. Which is a very interesting transition to, maybe you can pick some of these up, on Tuesday night when we go back into the archives and once again do our next episode of The Finisher Flashback, when we will go back to the year 1997, at a time when WCW was on top of the wrestling world, at a time when they had the hottest angle that everyone wanted to see. the match that could have been the match of the century. It has been talked about and written about almost as much as the Montreal Screwjob a month before. So this Tuesday night, starting at 7 o'clock, right here on our Facebook page and later on our YouTube channel, we'll be watching on the network and live reacting to WCW's Starrcade from 1997. It's Hogan and it's Sting. Icon versus Icon. And all of that went through. But there's also 2.5 hours before that that are more than worth our time watching.
All right, so make sure you check us out on Tuesday for that. And if you're wondering, we do have kind of a schedule that we're kind of gonna be doing.
Something like that.
And it'll vary just a little bit. So we're gonna put up on the Facebook page. Mondays, we're gonna do some streaming over on Twitch. So right now we've been working through Halo. We did some of that last night.
We're on Halo 3, and I think, depending on, as long as there aren't any giant scarabs that keep blowing us out of the sky randomly.
That took for frickin' ever.
It took for frickin' ever last night. So I believe we may be able to finish Halo 3 on Monday night.
That's perfect. So we're going through all the different Halo games. If you have a game you can suggest to us that we can both get a hold of, we'll do that.
I will tell you ahead of time when Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, the remastered versions, come out next month. We will be playing the hell out of that.
We definitely will be. Can you play 2-player on that? I'm guessing you can.
I'm assuming you can. If not, we'll figure. I mean, there were 2-player modes in both games. So.
Yeah, we'll figure something out. Hopefully we can do that. So Mondays we're going to be doing some streaming over on Twitch. Who knows what we're playing? Like I said, right now we're doing the Halo stuff. Mm-hmm. Tuesdays is Flashback. So we're doing our Flashback episodes on Tuesday. Wednesday is another streaming over on Twitch. Sometimes Dan will be there. Sometimes it'll just be me. And if it's just me, it'll be probably like Call of Duty on the PC or Max Payne on the PC or something. It'll be just me.
Yeah. So if he's playing Wednesday night on PC, you know that I will be at the docks in downtown Toledo. Come point and laugh as I attempt to play beach volleyball.
There you go. Thursdays is nothing.
Thursday's an off day.
Thursday is nothing. And then we get back Friday back on Twitch again. We're going to be both of us, as usual, over playing on the Xbox. And then Saturday is the podcast. And then Sunday will be an off day unless there's a pay-per-view.
Which, we have a couple of weeks to even think about the next pay-per-view. We have a hell of a weekend, that 22nd, 23rd, with a takeover and then SummerSlam. But we still have a couple weeks off. It's kind of nice to have a break for once in between these huge shows.
And I will tell you that beginning of September, we will be off for a couple of weeks.
We going on vacation, bro. Well,
the
show's going to go on vacation for a couple of weeks. We'll still be on social and such probably.
We won't have a podcast on the 5th or the 12th. But we should be back to the podcast on the 19th.
Which I imagine will be a mega show, since we'll have like 3 weeks worth of stuff to talk about.
Yes.
We'll have All Out to talk about. We'll probably be looking forward to the next pay-per-view, which used to be Unforgiven in September, and I have no idea what's even now anymore.
Yeah, so we won't have much anything throughout the week, like the streaming or the flashbacks or anything like that. That's going to be kind of all on hold until the week after the 19th. Yeah,
at best, I might put together some best of clips, but they might just be audio shows that I put together. We'll see.
There you go.
We'll see how inventive I feel like being.
There you go. So thank you guys for joining us. Make sure you go over, give us a like on Facebook, facebook.com/thefinisherpodcast. All of our social is right over there on the website, thefinisherpodcast.com. So make sure you go check us out, follow us, like us, subscribe to YouTube, all that. Hang out with us, leave comments, talk to us. We talk back. And until next time, we'll see you guys later. Have a good one.
Oh, God, I forgot to be funny. God damn it.